The suburban calm of Atascocita, Texas, was shattered on the afternoon of November 1, 2025. An off-duty Harris County deputy, placing his child in a car seat, suddenly faced a life-or-death confrontation in his own driveway. What began as a routine moment turned into a major investigation, as gunfire left one man dead and two families forever changed. The deputy, preparing to leave with his child, was approached by an unknown man, an encounter that escalated in seconds. Neighbors, used to quiet streets, watched as emergency vehicles and investigators flooded the scene. The tragedy highlights how quickly ordinary life can turn, and how a split-second decision can have irreversible consequences. At its core, this story is about two lives colliding in a moment that neither could have anticipated. According to the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the deputy had just secured his child in the car, ensuring the safety and comfort of his young one before heading out for the day. It was a routine moment for any parent, but it quickly turned into a situation that would test his training and instincts, when he noticed 27-year-old Darius Williams approaching. Williams' demeanor and actions immediately raised red flags for the deputy, who was now on high alert. The deputy believed Williams was trying to enter the vehicle, with his child inside. His heart raced as he considered the potential danger to his child and the need to act swiftly. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez described the deputy's actions, drawing his weapon, calling 911, and preparing to confront the perceived threat. The deputy's training kicked in, guiding his every move, and issuing warnings, trying to control the situation without immediate violence. He shouted commands, hoping to de-escalate the situation and avoid any harm. The official account frames the deputy as a father first, acting to protect his child from a perceived threat. His primary concern was the safety of his child, a natural instinct for any parent. Authorities emphasized that the deputy followed protocol, identifying a threat, warning, and taking necessary precautions. His actions were in line with his training and the procedures set by the department, and only firing when he believed all other options were exhausted. The decision to use his weapon was not taken lightly. It was a last resort after all other measures had failed. Both the deputy and his child were unharmed physically, but the emotional impact lingers. The incident left a lasting mark on the deputy, a reminder of the split-second decisions law enforcement officers must make. The sheriff's office stresses these are preliminary findings, with the investigation ongoing. They are committed to uncovering the full truth of what transpired that day. The question remains: did the deputy's instincts and training lead to a justified act or a preventable tragedy? The community and the department await the final verdict, hoping for clarity and justice. Before shots were fired, the deputy called 911, identifying himself as an off-duty officer with a suspect at gunpoint. He reportedly gave multiple clear commands for Williams to stop and stay away from the car. These warnings, standard police procedure, were meant to de-escalate and give Williams a chance to comply. According to the official narrative, Williams ignored the commands and continued toward the vehicle. The effectiveness of these warnings, and Williams's ability to process them, remains under investigation. The 911 call and any available recordings will be crucial evidence, capturing the tension and urgency of those moments. Investigators will scrutinize whether the deputy truly exhausted all alternatives before firing. The confrontation reached its peak when Williams, allegedly ignoring commands, opened the passenger door where the deputy's child sat. For the deputy, this was the breaking point, a direct threat to his child's safety. He fired multiple shots, striking Williams. Paramedics arrived quickly, but Williams died at the hospital. The deputy and his child were physically unharmed. Whether Williams was armed remains unconfirmed, a detail that could shift the entire narrative. The justification for lethal force hinges on whether the threat was real or perceived. The absence of a weapon complicates the story, raising questions about fear, judgment, and the limits of self-defense. The investigation now turns to the evidence left behind. Darius Williams, just 27 years old, was more than a name in a police report. He was a son, a friend, and a beloved member of his community. To those who knew him best, Darius was a gentle soul, someone who brought laughter to family gatherings and always made time for those in need. He was the kind of person who remembered birthdays, who checked in on friends when they were down, and who, despite his own struggles, tried to lift others up. But beneath the surface, Darius was a young man in crisis, quietly battling inner turmoil that few could fully understand. His friends recall moments when he seemed distant, lost in thought, or overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't always express. Friends and family describe him as struggling, not violent, emphasizing that his actions were cries for help rather than threats to others. They remember his kindness, his willingness to listen, and his deep sense of empathy for those around him. His recent actions, they say, were signs of distress rather than criminal intent, a desperate attempt to be seen and heard in a world that often overlooks those in pain. The night before the shooting, Williams was released from jail after being arrested for walking into traffic, a possible cry for help that went unheeded. Instead of receiving support or intervention, he was left to navigate his struggles alone, highlighting the gaps in our mental health and criminal justice systems. His family's account challenges the image of an aggressor, painting a portrait of a young man overwhelmed by circumstances beyond his control. They speak of sleepless nights, of searching for answers, and of the heartbreak of watching someone they love slip further away. To them, Darius was not a threat, but a person in need, someone who deserved compassion, understanding, and help. The tragedy is deepened by the gap between how Williams was seen by loved ones and how he was perceived in those final moments by strangers and authorities. It's a painful reminder of how quickly a life can be misunderstood and how easily a person in crisis can be misjudged. The contrast between the warmth of his family's memories and the cold reality of that night is stark, forcing us to confront the complexities of mental health, race, and justice in our society. His story forces a re-examination of the incident, urging us to look beyond headlines and ask deeper questions about how we respond to those in need. What happened to Darius Williams is not just a simple case of self-defense. It's a complex, heartbreaking event that reveals the failures of the systems meant to protect and support vulnerable individuals. Williams's death raises urgent questions about the resources available for those in crisis, and whether we're truly doing enough to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Behind every headline, there's a human story, one that deserves to be told, remembered, and learned from, so that others might find the help Darius never received. Darius Williams' mother, Tanisha, revealed her son's long battle with mental illness. For years, she watched helplessly as he struggled with the invisible wounds that tormented his mind. The family tried everything they could to support him, but the resources available were limited and often inadequate. This chapter turns the spotlight on a family's desperate search for help. They spent countless hours researching, calling hotlines, and visiting clinics, only to be met with long waiting lists and bureaucratic red tape. The emotional toll on the family was immense as they felt the weight of their loved one's suffering every single day. Tanisha pleaded with police to take him to a psychiatric facility, not jail, after his arrest for walking in traffic. She knew that jail would only exacerbate his condition, but her pleas fell on deaf ears. The officers, bound by protocol and an outstanding warrant, had no choice but to take him into custody. Her request was denied due to an outstanding warrant, and Williams was jailed instead of hospitalized. The cold, harsh environment of the jail was the last place he needed to be. It was a setting that could only worsen his mental state, stripping away any semblance of hope or support. He was released without mental health support, left to navigate his crisis alone. The system had failed him, releasing him back into the world without the tools or support he desperately needed. Alone and vulnerable, he wandered the streets, a stark reminder of the gaps in our mental health care system. This background reframes the driveway encounter, not as a criminal act, but as the tragic end of untreated mental illness. It highlights the dire consequences of a system that prioritizes punishment over treatment, and the heartbreaking outcomes that can result from such an approach. The case exposes the gap between law enforcement and mental health care, and the consequences when those systems fail to connect. It underscores the urgent need for better training and resources for police officers, so they can respond more effectively to mental health crises. Williams's mother's testimony is a call for reform, asking if a different response could have saved her son. Her words resonate with many families who have faced similar struggles, and they serve as a powerful reminder of the changes that are desperately needed in our mental health care system. The tragedy is not just what happened, but what could have been prevented. It is a somber reflection on the lives that could be saved with better mental health care, and a call to action for all of us to advocate for a more compassionate and effective system. Williams' final days reveal a system ill-equipped for mental health crises. Arrested for a minor self-endangering act, he was jailed due to a warrant, not given medical care. Released without support, he was left vulnerable, his family's worst fear realized. The lack of coordination between the justice and healthcare systems set the stage for tragedy. Advocates argue police are forced to act as mental health responders without resources or training. The question remains, could a different approach, in those 48 hours, have changed everything? Two investigations began immediately, one internal one by the district attorney, to determine if the deputy's actions were justified. Both will examine whether he followed policy, law, and training, and whether deadly force was necessary. The possible existence of home surveillance footage could be pivotal, offering an objective account of the confrontation. Video evidence could confirm or challenge the official narrative, making it a top priority for investigators. Until then, the case relies on statements, physical evidence, and the autopsy report. The presence or absence of video will shape the outcome and public perception. In the age of cameras, transparency and accountability are more important than ever. The district attorney's investigation will go before a grand jury, which will decide if charges are warranted. The grand jury will weigh evidence, testimony, and whether the deputy's use of deadly force was reasonable under Texas law. The central question: was the deputy's fear for his child's safety justified, especially if Williams was unarmed? The presence or absence of a weapon is critical to the legal analysis of self-defense. For Williams' family, the process is about answers and accountability. For the deputies, it's about the aftermath of a traumatic split-second decision. The community waits for resolution, left with the reminder of how quickly lives can change. This case stands as a somber lesson on the intersection of law enforcement, mental health, and the consequences of a single moment.